Power from the Blazing Stone. Part 1. The Great Reboot. Merryn leapt through the humid Cornish summer night, toppled over the branches of a grasping hawthorn tree, and somersaulted through sweet-smelling long grass. "Keep up, Corin, we're late!" Corin was the name of Merryn's CL500 Mining Unit. Half a ton of condensers, circuits, relays, and vacuum cells, which could assemble or disassemble almost anything on command. The mechanisms of the unit were encased within a torus shell of smooth metal, and though heavy, it moved ingeniously, barely bending the grass as it steered its vast mass with phenomenal delicacy. Corin rolled after the spindly girl, thrice her height and several times her weight, yet swerving in time with Merryn's movements. The synthetic giant followed like a shadow, often shooting out a metal prong to support the child when she stumbled. "Thank you, Corin," puffed Merryn as she scrambled up a cliff face. "You're welcome, little grub," came back the soft voice. As with all modern mining units, Merryn's was programmed to her genome sequence and could stray no further than a few meters away. There were 8 other little uns in Merryn's class, all on the cusp of their 13th birthday, but none with an imagination quite as vivid as Merryn's, who was lauded as the droll teller of the group. Merryn had accessed the cloud archives, pulling recordings from the old days, before the Great Reboot, and used these to teach Corin to speak soft and magic-like, just like her own grandfather Tregonning. Guided by its 5-pound mass of superconducting brain matter, shooting signals between several quintillion positrons per second, a CL500 MU could intuit practically any situation a child might challenge it with, learning from the child and testing them simultaneously. Merryn reached the top of the cliffs. The moors ahead of her were sparse, and the few trees were windswept and bent over into crawling creatures. Merryn cowered in the wind and poked at a rock pool, causing the reflected stars to burst into rings. Glitter flashed in Merryn's eyes, and she scanned across the landscape to check for her friends and their robots. "Corin, please turn off your lights." There was a click. As Merryn's eyes adjusted to the dark, the opera of stars and moon, distant suns, and dead planets started to perform. And yes, there, off in the distance, she could make out the silhouettes of the others. As she looked, she felt Corin's flexible arm against her back, keeping her away from the cliff edge. The sea below was all heave and toss in the jaws of granite teeth. Waves broke against the rocks, and seabirds screamed. "I count 7 others, 14 including units. Ain't it, Corin?" Corin pulsed an ultrasound wave through the darkness and concurred. "Yes, lass. I sense Nessa, Arluth, Sally, Zenner, Sam, Gweno, Alistair, and of course their units. No others." Merryn felt suddenly queasy and placed a hand on her stomach. "No Rosa nor Treve. It must have failed the copper. But her words were drowned out. From the depths of the earth came a rumbling, bursting noise, which emanated from the ruins of the ancient pump houses. Merryn cast her eyes towards an old mine shaft which sat precariously atop the cliff and was suddenly lit with a magma glow. "Mother's brewing down there, Corin. The mother of blazing stone. Get ready!" Merryn grasped at the robot's sides as the dull light exploded into a blinding flash and shot up into the sky. "There she goes!" marvelled Merryn, always astonished afresh at the commencement of each level. Cornish pipes sounded, and the disembodied voices of miners past heralded the next challenge. The night sky was alive with glittering lights which spelled out the Academy's motto in cosmic pillars: "Spirits above, spirits below." And then, with a spectacular flash, the letters transformed into LITHIUM. Merryn's throat tightened, and she stumbled backwards into Corin, who gently supported her weight, sending a scatter of stones down to the crashing waves below. Lithium. The final stage before off-world training. The most important terrestrial achievement, and known as the most tricksy. Lithium is capricious. It skips, hops, and hides inside other elements. But the taming of this spirit allowed the ancients to harness and store energy from the sun sprites, noble winds, sea maids, and from the geothermal waters, stirred by the mother of blazing stones. Those who reason metal from stone can themselves transform the world. Like King Arthur, like those ancient scientists who brought about the Great Reboot. "Merryn, look!" Her head spun around to see the flickering lights realigned once more, arranging themselves into a constellation of digits below the initials of each child. These were each set at 00, presumably a measurement of lithium gathered. A beam of light shot down from the heavens onto each of the units, and for a moment Corin's smooth white surface shone with light around the full loop of its body. The other 6 units in the distance shone also, like beacons. Corin's LED face went blank, and in place of the digital representation of eyes and mouth appeared 6 digits. 240000. The digits were already moving quickly, running down to 235959, 235958, 235957. "Corin!" shouted Merryn, and tried to shake the whirring robot. "I'm here, lass. Settle now, settle." As each training stage was completed, the mining units had more information loaded into them, so that they would grow in tandem with their human counterparts. But never had Corin's face been wiped. Was it altered? Merryn stared, mouth gaping. She knew what the digits represented. They measured periods of time in the old days, before the Great Reboot. Timers and limits and scores had not been part of any of the previous stages, which worried her. Would they be ranked for priority of off-world mining assignments? Would this ranking determine access to resources or privileges? Or worse, might off-world training only be accessible to those with high scores? "Corin," whispered Merryn, observing the distant shapes of her friends sprinting off into the darkness with their units. "I'm scared. I want to talk to Gwenno and Alistair. Can you interface them?" The mighty Taurus rolled back and forth. "I can't, lass. The signal's blocked. It's not for us to meet till the timer's done. But I sense we need haste, and as it happens, a quick composition analysis tells me we could drill for lithium in this here very rock. Want to get started?" Merryn looked quizzically. "No, Corin. We never touch Mother Rock till we're sure to do the least damage. Go with nature, not against. You ain't acting right." There was the suspicion of tears in her dark eyes, a luxury she only allowed herself when alone. The fear that she had lost Corin, her friend and robot counterpart, to a software upgrade was not dispelled, despite Corin's reassurances. But the digital timer display had gone. Corin's face reappeared. Let's find somewhere to sleep. Something tells me we're going to need all our wits about us tomorrow.